Welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast, where thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and executives from around the world share their practical tips, strategies, and stories to help you unleash your potential and achieve your goals. Your journey of growth to become your best starts now.
Hey, welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. Before we jump in, if you haven't already, wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching it, if you're watching it on YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us a like. We have no advertisement or sponsorship on this show. All we ask is that you subscribe to our content, you like it, and you share it with your friends and your family. We're all about building community and sharing our content here at Rise Up For You. All right, are you ready? Let's jump into today's episode with yet again another amazing guest. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host, Netta Lena Nasruddin, and I am super excited again to announce and bring to you our new series, Let's Coach. I came up with that name by myself. I hope you and every single week, we are bringing to you the amazing Rise Up For You team. So for those of you that are maybe new to our community or new to the podcast, Rise Up For You is a company that works with leaders, professionals, organizations around the world, teaching what I like to call the superpower skills, the skills that really make up 1% of the population that are incredibly successful in their whole life, also known as soft skills. So that's your confidence, your leadership, your ability to influence, and to really move the needle in your life. And you may or may not know that Rise Up For You actually has an amazing team. It's not just Netta, even though you see me on the podcast. We have awesome coaches and trainers throughout North America that are incredible. And I said this on the last podcast, and I'm going to say it again. If you're a business owner, you might be able to relate to this. 2-3 years ago, I thought there is no way I'm going to be able to find coaches that can coach like I can. There is no way they're going to be able to do what I do. And that was my big fat ego talking and getting in the way. And I am really so honored and happy to say that we just have an amazing team that are experts in what they do. They are changing lives, not only in North America, but throughout the world with their expertise. And I'm just super excited to bring them on to the podcast, the Let's Coach series, and have them show like their brilliance because they're doing incredible work. And I'm so grateful for them. So today we have Christine Boodanian, who is actually, when I say amazing coach, I'm understating it. She is fantastic. She's phenomenal. She's been in education for years. She knows how to hold a training. She knows how to create transformation with clients. Christine, thank you for joining today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're new to this series, the Let's Coach series, just as a reminder, we have a series where we are interviewing executives, thought leaders, entrepreneurs from around the world. We release those episodes every week. And then we have the Let's Coach series with our team. So if you're new to this series, what we do is we actually have like a ton of responses from community members, clients, people that just follow us on social media that have questions that they want to get coached through. I haven't seen them and Christine hasn't seen them. So basically what we do is I just open up the app and then I'll pick somebody, I'll open up the question, and then we'll just coach live. So we don't know what we're going to coach on today, but I can guarantee you this. It's probably something that you can connect to, resonate with, if not now, in the future, maybe in the past. You might say, hey, I've been there. So that's kind of how this works. And if you want to get coached in the future, or if you have a question that you want us to coach through, just drop it in the chat. You can email us at team@riseupforyou.com and we'll put it on the next episode. So Christine, I always ask our coaches, I say, are you ready to coach?
Yes, ma'am. Let's do this.
Okay.
I'm so ready.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. I'm going to open up my app here.
Okay.
For those of you that may be watching on YouTube, you see the phone in my hand. And if you're driving in your car or working out, listening to the podcast, I'm opening up our app here with community members that have asked questions. Okay, here we go. So this question is from Beth, is her name. And she says, I am looking to request a promotion. How do I do it? Looking to request a promotion. How do I do it? Okay, let's break this down. I can jump in. You can start, Christine, whatever comes to your mind first.
Okay. So the first thing I would wonder about Beth is how long has she been at the company?
Great question.
And what is the company policy on promotions? Like, when is she up for her evaluation? What is the company policy on promotions? What is standard and customary at her place of work? That's the first thing that I would want to know.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question because we have to collect data first, right? And this isn't to discourage anybody because I do think that, in your career, you should want to level up. You should want to get to that next step. But oftentimes, and Christine, you may or may not disagree with me, people ask for promotions without doing the due diligence behind asking for the promotion. Just like
Right.
It's like, is there a company policy? So for example, I'll just be completely transparent. With Rise Up For You, we have a scale that moves every year. And the scale it's fixed. So if you've been here for 2 years and you have this degree or that degree, you get this. If you've been here for 3 years, and so you potentially get a promotion every year, but it's a fixed promotion, right? There's nothing beyond that. I know in education has the same thing. There's a scale that moves every year. So I think you're spot on by asking those right questions. What's the policy? What is the standard? And
Right.
my favorite question, not to knock anybody, but is how long have you been there? Because I'm not going to lie, I also have some clients that are like, I've been there for 6 months and I want a promotion. And I'm like, okay, hold on.
Right.
Let's be real.
Right.
Is 6 months reasonable, right? Thoughts
For
on
sure.
that?
For sure. Yeah. Is 6 months reasonable? And also, like, some companies have it tied to their yearly evaluation. So if you're satisfactory, you're going to come in at a certain percentage. If you're exceeding standard, you're going to come in at a certain percentage. So you need to know that going in. And it's also really important to make it really obvious for your supervisor the wins that you've had. And that's where self-promotion comes in. So you don't want to ask your supervisor to do the work for you. Like, well, I'm super fabulous and it's been 6 months, so I'm ready. Like, what can you offer me? That's not the way to go. You need to do your due diligence, as you said, in advance. Make a list of the wins that you've had, the ROI, how you have increased the bottom line for your company. Where is the data? What are the stats? With the work that you've done, where have been the wins? And then present that to your boss. And you'll have a much better chance at getting what you need, and be really clear about what you want. That's another piece, is be really clear about exactly what it is that you're asking for. And going back to what you said about it's been 6 months, I want to raise. I think sometimes just by comparison, people hearing what other people are getting paid and maybe on social media and such, you think, oh, well, I'm pretty good at what I do. I should be making 400 grand as well. Well, that's not necessarily reasonable, and you don't necessarily have all the data around what you think you deserve right now. So just be reasonable.
Absolutely. So what I hear you saying, I'm just going to bring it down into the 3 points for everyone listening is how long you've been at the company. Let's just start there. Is it reasonable to ask for promotion at this point? If you've had a promotion, when was the last promotion you had, right? So how long have you been at the company? Okay. What is the policy or procedures around potentially promotion within your company? If there are, sometimes companies don't have anything specific. Sure. And then lastly is, why should you get the promotion? So just like Christine said beautifully, what's the ROI that you brought to the table? Or what are the accomplishments or the achievements that you can express through self-promotion if your boss or leader says, tell me why you should get one? So sure. I think those things are really critical to write down and reflect on in your process. I'm just going to add one more thing. You may not be ready for a promotion right now, and that's okay. I think it's really important to communicate to your leadership team where you want to go. So if you do want a promotion, or you do want to grow in your company or in a role, start having the conversation now and start asking the questions. Hey, I would love to grow in my role. I'd love to lead a team. I would like to get to the next level. How do I do that? And what are the action steps I need to take in order to get there? Because now your leaders and your executive team, they can tell you, all right, you're pretty close, or there's things we got to work on to help you get there. And now you can start you can be proactive about your process.
I was going to actually add the same thing at the end. I was going to say, just because you asked for a promotion doesn't mean that the answer is yes. The answer might be not yet. And you need to be prepared for that and then be able to communicate, what do I need to do? Where's the gap? How do I fill that in?
100%. I love that. Great, great, great feedback, Christine. Okay, number 2, we ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, go into the app for those of you that are watching or listening. Let's go to the next question here. Okay. This question is from Shireen. It's a little bit vague, but I'm going to say it anyways, and then we'll just coach through it. We'll work through it.
Sure. We'll work on clarity.
The question from Shireen is surrounded around self-confidence and doubt. So struggling with self-confidence and wanting to know how to basically increase self-confidence. So, gosh, I could talk about, self-confidence all day. It's one of our number one pillars here at Rise Up For You. Where do you want to start, Christine, with this? So how do we increase our self-confidence?
Okay, so we're going to increase our self-confidence by moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
I love that. Yeah.
Thank you.
For those of us that aren't familiar, can you break down the difference? Because there are
for sure. So it's show and tell time, right? So the work on a fixed versus growth mindset comes from the book Mindset by the Stanford professor Carol Dweck. And in a fixed mindset, you believe that your capabilities and skills and intelligence is fixed, meaning you were born with what you have and that's all that you're going to have. You're constantly being evaluated on that. So if you get a poor performance evaluation, you now believe that the slate's been wiped clean and now you suck. Yeah. Based on the evaluation that you've gotten from that moment. So everything, 30 years of your career can go to zero with someone's poor feedback performance on you. A growth mindset, you believe that your skills and abilities and intelligence and your aptitude can be grown through failure, through opportunity, through learning, through developing grit and perseverance. And so, Shireen, I would imagine that possibly Shireen had an issue where possibly there was a hit to her confidence based on some type of feedback that she received at work. And now she believes that everything is wiped clean. I don't have it. I used to be good. I might've been good at one point, but I'm not good anymore. Where we want to move from that. And at Rise Up For You, we talk about macro confidence versus micro confidence. So the micro, did I say that right? Micro confidence?
I was just thinking how proud I am of you.
The teacher's coming through. So those micro confidences are all your skills, your skills and your abilities that are specific to what you're doing, your communication skill, your ability to teach, coach, manage, whatever it might be, and those things are being evaluated. And sometimes you're going to do fantastic. And sometimes there's room for growth. And that doesn't mean that you don't have value, but we need to move to macro confidence, the bigger picture, macro meaning, the whole picture, things that cannot be taken from you, your self-worth. It can't be your confidence, your compassion, your empathy, your value as a human being that is not up for interpretation or evaluation.
Yeah. You said it beautifully. And we saw this during COVID. So I know, Christine, you weren't with us at that point with the team, but during COVID, so many people lost their jobs. They lost leadership positions. They had to completely learn a whole new skill because maybe the company shut down or the business closed. And even now with artificial intelligence, we're seeing this where there's mass layoffs in some industries because they're being replaced by AI. And so many people came to us and said, who am I? But I don't know what value I bring to the world. What's my identity? Like, what is my purpose of being here? Because just like you said it beautifully, that the micro confidence is all they grew. They became confident in a skill. I'm confident in speaking. I'm confident in HR. I'm confident in coding, whatever it is. But all those things exist outside of us. And so that means that they're always going to change. And if they change, you still have to have a strong sense of your identity and who you are. And that's where the macro comes into place, just like Christine said, where it's an inner belief that you can grow, period. It's an inner belief that you have the ability to learn. It's understanding that even if you fail, that your identity is not attached to that failure, that it's just research to success. And that macro level confidence we're never really taught.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why so many people struggle with just feeling enough, because no one teaches you to just feel enough and love yourself, period.
Right.
You know, even think about our school systems. We're taught to feel happy or excited when we get a good grade or when we get a trophy or when we get a ribbon. But life isn't always about trophies and ribbons. And the question is, can you feel enough and love yourself when there's no external validation? And
Right.
that is really where the macro and the micro self-confidence differ, and why we need to build that macro confidence. And you're spot on with fixed versus growth mindset, because if you struggle with a growth mindset, you're always going to have your identity attached to your micro level skills or the external accomplishments that you get. And that is just not a sustainable model for self-worth.
Right. With a fixed mindset, if you're attached to a fixed mindset.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. I remember having a principal coming in, doing an evaluation of me. And every time I would get so nervous, as if, this is prior to learning about a growth versus a fixed mindset, as if my worth as an educator was up to that 20 or 40 minute observation. You know, like it was like pinned on that, where that's so not true. That is so not true. And it's okay to have places where you need to grow. It's more than okay. And in terms of in the school system, I taught in Southern California, and we were actually teaching the kids about district wide. And every morning, my kids would do a growth mindset pledge. So may I say part of that for you?
You say it.
Okay. So that came from the work of Angela Watson. So it is not my work, but the kids would every morning after the Pledge of Allegiance, we would all say on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, I can learn anything because I was born to learn. I can train my brain through practice. I can choose my thoughts when things are hard. I know failure is an important part of my success. I take ownership of my mistakes and learn from them. I do not let setbacks keep me from accomplishing goals. I believe I can do hard things. Like every morning, this is what the kids would say, and it would just set the tone and frame. This is a learning environment. It is okay to not be perfect. We're going to embrace that. So I just wanted to share that with you.
I need you to type that out and put it in an email.
All right.
You can send it out to our community, because adults and professionals need that too. I love that. That was great. All right, this was great. I have to admit, our time is up today, but I have to admit, for those of you that are listening, the Rise Up For You podcast, if you don't know, is the longest running thing with Rise Up For You. So it's the first thing that was created. We have almost 600 episodes. This is the first time that we are doing the Let's Coach series, where we're bringing our team in to have these conversations. And I love it. This is so great. It's great to hear from the coaches. I'm also getting coaching from you, as we're going through these questions, but you will see us every single Friday. I'm going to bring new coaches on from the team. Christine's going to come back. We're going to keep going and keep adding value. So if you have questions, if you want an answered question or coached live, make sure to drop a comment on the YouTube channel if you're watching, or just send us a message at team@RiseUpForYou and just put in the subject line coaching question. And then my team and I, the next time we do an episode, which every week we're launching them, we'll make sure that we get to your question. Christine, this was awesome. Thank you so much. And then I'll see you next time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.